Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about the importance of healing the adrenal glands. You may not realize this, but the adrenal glands are tightly correlated to all of the other systems of our body. The adrenal glands handle so many functions. You might not be aware of all the things that they do. They actually, besides producing the adrenaline that we're all familiar with, the cortisol that we are familiar with hearing about being so corrosive to all of our organs and our blood vessels and our brain, there are over 2,000 other blends of adrenaline that the adrenals are responsible for. In addition, they also kick on to help with producing sex hormones, especially for women when they start heading into menopause. Sometimes the ovaries are starting to wind down, and as that happens, the adrenal glands have to fill in the gap for where the ovaries left off. Not only the hormones, but digestive enzymes and neurotransmitters for the brain. All sorts of things like that the adrenal glands are responsible for, or are at least a fail-safe for the other things that might be going a little awry in the body. So it's so important to examine this because, especially when we're dealing with something like spasmodic dysphonia or any other neurological issue, we know that adrenaline is involved because we're also in fight or flight. So this is also something that's super important because when we are constantly in fight or flight, then we also have probably some fatigued adrenals. Because of the fact that the adrenals are called to produce adrenaline whenever we are in that state of fight or flight, over time they can just basically wear out. They get a little bit fatigued and then they stop producing the right amount of adrenaline for any given situation. They can produce too much adrenaline at times, like at night when you're trying to go to bed and you put your head on the pillow and suddenly your eyes just open up and you're like wide awake. Or even in the middle of the night when it's 3 a.m. and you're fully sound asleep, but then all of a sudden you're awake because your adrenal glands are not producing the kind of adrenaline you need to be staying asleep. There are so many different things that the adrenal glands do. We just need to delve into how we heal them because along with things like spasmodic dysphonia or other neurological symptoms, we need to be able to get the adrenals healed enough to then produce the proper amount of adrenaline that is required for any given situation. Oftentimes when they're fatigued, they will produce too much adrenaline at the wrong time and then not enough adrenaline at the wrong time. For instance, if you're having that afternoon lull where you're just like, whew, tired. You just feel like you can't get through the rest of your day around 3 or 4 o'clock p.m. That happens a lot to people, and that is a sign of adrenal fatigue. So we need to just start focusing on the adrenals. And there's many different facets to doing this because much like our nerves get damaged when we have spasmodic dysphonia, other neurological issues, the myelin sheath of the nerve gets damaged. Well, the same things that are damaging that nerve is also wearing on the adrenal glands. Things like pathogens, viruses in our bodies, adrenal glands, things like pathogens, viruses in our bodies, things like Epstein-Barr, shingles, cytomegalovirus. That's easy for you to say. There's so many different things. So we have Epstein-Barr, shingles, cytomegalovirus, all the herpetic family viruses, herpes simplex, you name it. You get the picture. In addition to the heavy metals that can also take a toll on the adrenal glands, then you throw in the fact that they're just tired out from overusage. So we have our work cut out for us because this is not an easy task because we still need our adrenals to be functioning while we're healing. It's really important to note that they are functioning to help our brain communicate with other parts of our body. So if there's a breakdown in communication between our brain and our voice, the neurotransmitters that can also help with that are produced in the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands also will step up when the liver is overburdened. When the liver has too many things to deal with, too many pathogens, toxins, those types of things, it stops functioning properly in some of its other jobs. It has more than 2,000 jobs. And so sometimes the liver can become sluggish and stop doing some of its jobs. And one of its jobs is to store glycogen or glucose. The extra stored glycogen is supposed to sustain us during those periods of time between meals. When the liver gets overburdened, it no longer has the capacity to store this glycogen. And then, in which case, the adrenals have to kick on, because when we are not eating on a regular basis, then the adrenals will kick on some adrenaline if there's no glucose handy to help us power through until our next meal. When we have a compromised liver, then that's especially important because those adrenals are working extra hard to do that. Well, what do we do about it? We have to learn to feed the adrenals all the glucose and minerals that they need in order to maintain functioning and also begin healing and repairing and doing the normal metabolic things that cells do to restore themselves. We can do this by making sure that we're eating very regularly. It's important as we begin starting to heal our bodies that we keep this constant stream of glucose and mineral salts in flux, because if we don't do that, then the adrenaline is forced to be released, and then also our adrenals can get even more taxed. When we fail to feed those adrenals regularly, they are forced to keep working so hard. And we want to make sure that at least one of the demands for the adrenaline is taken off of the menu. Sometimes when we are at least feeding it regularly, we will notice that we'll get much less of a fluctuation in our blood sugar, in our energy, in our brain fog. We'll notice a lot of improvement with mental clarity and just overall vibrancy when we're constantly feeding ourselves the glucose and minerals. And often if we have a lot of symptoms in our bodies, our minerals are not going where they are intended to go. Sometimes minerals get utilized by the body to just alkalize the body instead of actually letting the cells partake in those minerals and use the minerals for cell repair, or let the adrenals use the minerals for producing the proper hormones, the proper neurotransmitters, all of those things. When we have a hormone imbalance, oftentimes it's because of this adrenal factor. The adrenals are no longer able to produce the right amounts of estrogen or progesterone or testosterone even. So that is a sign of adrenal fatigue as well when we're low on those hormones, and we can correct the problem with the hormones by simply healing the adrenal glands. Some other reasons we want to focus on healing the adrenals is because we want to stop that toxic adrenaline from constantly pumping through our bodies. The adrenaline is the most toxic thing for our body of all, even above those pathogens and the heavy metals and all of the things that are keeping the inflammation in the body. The adrenaline actually does that the worst. In addition, it suppresses the immune system. It keeps our cells from being able to properly repair themselves. If we have nerve damage, we have those openings in our myelin sheath of our nerves, say of our vagus nerve, then the adrenaline can also be extra inflammatory to that nerve as well, in addition to the pathogens and the metals that are also playing on that inflammation of the nerve. So we have to constantly feed ourselves the proper minerals and glucose. In addition, potassium. A perfect adrenal snack is actually comprised of all three things: of the glucose, of the minerals, and of potassium. So every 1 to 2 hours, we should be eating this combination in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't have to be a large amount. It can just simply be a small bite or two. It doesn't have to be an extensive, huge meal, but that also helps. You might say, gosh, if I'm eating all the time, am I going to gain weight? The answer is actually no, because again, the adrenaline causes cortisol, which causes our bodies to gain weight. In addition, the fat cells are actually created to store some of this excess cortisol to keep it out of the bloodstream. That's kind of like our body's little encapsulation of walling off this toxic substance so that it's not coming in contact with all of our organs, our brain, our nerves, our blood vessels. I'm going to give you a list of some ideal adrenal snacks. So the first one on the list is an apple, a date, and a couple celery sticks. That's like the perfect adrenal snack. But if you don't like that or you want some other ideas, I'll give you a list. So we could do orange, avocado, and spinach. We could do dates, banana, and romaine lettuce. We could do coconut water, banana, and spinach. Pear, matcha, and berries. Berries, honey, and celery juice. Apples, dates, and kale. Grapes, banana, and red leaf lettuce. Cauliflower, apple, and cucumber. Or watermelon with lime and celery. Those are just some ideas for you to put in your arsenal. I always try and think of it for myself when I'm not trying to look at this list. I just wanted to grab something quick. A lot of times I will just think, okay, something fruitish, colorful fruit, and then something green. So pretty much if it's green, you can't go wrong. The apple, date, and celery, of course, is the easiest go-to, but you can use any of these. And oftentimes, so if I'm hard pressed and I'm on the go and I don't have access to all of it, at least I do part of it. So if I have an apple handy, I'll just eat the apple alone, or just a piece of fruit. And sometimes that's okay. It doesn't have to be an elaborate thing all the time. One other side note is that we want to add as many green things into our daily routine as possible. Things like leafy greens, things like celery juice, any sort of extra green veggies always have maximum amounts of minerals in them. Same goes for vegetables. They all have extra minerals in them. But the unsung heroes are honestly the leafy greens. Lots of spinach, lots of romaine lettuce. If you're dealing with neurological symptoms, romaine lettuce has a special compound in it that is very calming to the nerves. So that's always my go-to type of lettuce that I love the most. Anyway, I hope you guys got some good, valuable information out of this and understand that we have to heal ourselves as a whole. We can't just look at if we're having foot pain or if we're having, some digestive issues, or in fact, if we have a neurological issue. We can't just look at that one issue and try and isolate it. We have to heal the body as a whole, and the adrenals are super important for us to focus on. So in addition to all of this, just staying as calm as possible. We have to become mindful of how we are allowing things to affect us. We have to take our own power back again. Sometimes we give our power away without even realizing it. We let other people get us all riled up. We let circumstances get us really, really overthinking things and worrying. All of this is counterproductive to healing the adrenal glands. We want to remain as calm as possible. We want to do calming things like an Epsom salt bath, or a nature walk outside, or just even sitting and watching the birds, or something like some deep breathing. We can do some box breaths to just calm our nervous system down as often as possible. Just as we are feeding our adrenal glands every hour or two, we also need to think mindfully to calm them down every hour or two. Check in with yourself. If you find yourself getting tightly wound, then just take a moment out of your day to do some box breaths. You can do some emotional freedom technique by doing some tapping. I have a demonstration on how to do emotional freedom technique on my YouTube channel. So look for that video. I'll put the link below. And then also you just want to start rewiring your brain for calm and for peace, and not allow yourself to be easily thrown off. That's mastering a whole different thing. And I have a lot of other videos. I'll put a couple links down below about mastering your mind and your thoughts and rewiring your brain, because we need to start looking at ourselves differently. We need to start being the guardians of what we allow our brain to think about, what rabbit holes we let ourselves go down. And we have to learn to just come into a calm, peaceful, healing state. Because when we're in that calm, peaceful, healing state, that is where our healing is happening. When we're in the sympathetic nervous system and we're in fight or flight and we're all over the place, we are not in the healing mode. And we want to get back into the parasympathetic nervous system and learn to let our bodies do what they do best, which is rest and recover. But we have to set the stage for that. It just doesn't happen automatically if we're on autopilot and we're allowing ourselves to constantly run around in a state of fight or flight. So now that you know what you know, I'm going to give you some marching orders. I want you to start bringing in those adrenal snacks every 1 to 2 hours. I want you to do at least 3 times a day. I want you to stop what you're doing and take a moment to do some breaths. You can even do something as simple as some butterfly tapping, just like tapping right here and just telling yourself everything is fine. You are safe. The world is all well. And you're going to be okay. It's all going to work out. It's all going to be okay. Just reminding ourselves of that on a regular basis can bring that baseline down. You know, and if you get a chance to go outside and take a walk and soak up some sun, do that. Things like this are helping our adrenal glands heal, and healing our adrenal glands are going to help us heal the other parts of us too. Okay, I want to let you guys know about a 5-day challenge I'm going to be doing within my Facebook group, Healing Spasmodic Dysphonia Naturally. This is a 5-day challenge for anyone who is dealing with this condition, or really, frankly, any other condition. You could benefit from the information I'm going to be giving you. We're going to talk about a lot of this mindset stuff. We're going to talk about some nutrition stuff, and we're going to talk about some nervous system regulation, and we're going to pick up some tools that will be very handy as you are continuing on your journey. So it'll be April 30th through May 5th. So there will be a link to register. There'll be a link for you to join the Facebook group, and then you can also register for the free 5-day challenge. I hope you guys will join me, and thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, these are all just great ideas for you to start implementing. We're going to start implementing things one at a time. 1% change every day will eventually get you there. So don't ever forget that, and keep striving to heal yourself. I know you can do it. I'll see you next time. I'll see you next time. Love you all very much. I'll see you next time. Sending you so much love and healing energy. I'll see you next time. I'm sending you so much love and healing energy. Use a QR code to register for the Overcoming Spasmodic Dysphonia 5-day challenge.